Thank you very much, councillors, members of senior staff. I declare open this extraordinary meeting of Temora Shire Council, and again welcome you all here. We do have apologies from Councillor McLaren, Councillor Good, the Director of Environmental Services. We have with us Councillor Bushell, who is on via Zoom, which, can we see her, please? Which, there she is. Welcome, Councillor Bushell. And again, thank you all for making the time to be for this special meeting. So there are just those three items that will be considered by Council at this special meeting, and to have those matters considered, could I please have a resolution for us receiving staff reports? Pardon? Oh, didn't I have a mover or a second? I beg your pardon. A mover and a seconder, please, for the apologies. Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Councillor Oliver moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Now, we'll have a motion, please, receiving staff reports. Councillor Judd, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Sinclair moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Let's go to page 6 of your white business papers, the Department of Administration and Finance reports. 6.1, the draft fees and charges. The Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the draft schedule of fees and charges is attached, noting that we have updated the version that was on display for the new companion animal fees. There is a further amendment that will be made to the final version. So it's on page 26 of your business paper, and it's in relation to section 10.7 planning certificates. So that's a statutory fee, and that fee we've just been advised has gone up. So the 10.72 will become $62, an increase from $53, and the 10.75 will become $94, which is up from $60. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Madam Director. So that is a statutory increase?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Councillors, you have there before you the draft fees and charges with those two amendments, and noting that we have received 0 submissions in relation to the fees and charges. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
I'll move the recommendation that Council adopts the fees and charges for 22-23.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, has moved the recommendation, page 6, that Council adopts the fees and charges for 2022-2023 as presented. Seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Oliver, thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Actually, thank you. I go now to Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I was just reading through, and I don't know if it was a typo, but in the cemetery fees on page 12, you've got lawn cemetery reservation deposit $3,236. Is that right?
So, question without notice to the Director of Administration
seems really high
and Finance.
For a deposit. Sorry.
You're right. Thank you. The Director. So it's in the middle of the page, isn't it?
Cemetery fees, lawn cemetery, Temora, reservation deposit.
So, yeah, sorry, I just can't see it there quickly. But so the reservation would be the total value of the plot now. So if someone passed away tomorrow, then their fee would be entirely paid. That's right. But if they pass away in 10 years' time, then they would need to pay the difference between the fee now that they're paying and the fee at the time of their death. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Any further discussion If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Let's go over to page 28, 6.2, the draft operational plan for 2022-23, the delivery plan for 2022-2026, and the draft resourcing plan 2022 to 2032. The Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the reports are as presented. They've been on display for 28 days and we received no submissions. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Comments or questions, councillors, in relation to these various plans? And just for those listening to the recording, that of course councillors and senior staff have spent a great deal of time in workshopping these various plans and to help inform the documents. So councillors, you have a recommendation there on page 28 for you to consider, or is there an alternate? Councillor Judd. Thank you. Councillor Judd.
First of all, just an overall comment is that it just concerns me that majority of target dates are the end of June next year, 23, which might be easy for planning things, but I would have liked to see more sort of work out a program of how we're going to, what's going to happen through the year. Worries me, might come to the, our staff and that might, we've got all year to do this thing, and come to May, June next year and suddenly find, oh, we've got all these projects to do. It's, yeah.
There is a number of them in the end of June next year. You're quite right, Councillor Judd. I'll go to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just on that point, Councillor Judd, a lot of the issues are things like advocacy that are ongoing over a full 12-month period, so they by necessity would finish at the end of June. There are some, admittedly there are quite a few, but most projects where there's a time that has been set for them have had that time put in there. But it's a lot of them would be ongoing advocacy or something that's ongoing for the full 12 months.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillor Judd.
Just a few individual ones. Page 44, the ratepayers meeting, is that being planned in local government week, or we've got to find some other day?
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Judd. That is, I think the Deputy Mayor reported that at the last meeting, that it will be, but it's rebadged, Councillor Judd, which is probably why a lot of people didn't realise that it brought boom time, that event, as far as, what's going on in Temora Shire, will be incorporated in Local Government Week, Mr Deputy Mayor? Yeah. Yeah, early August. Yep. Councillor Judd.
Next question on page 65, just down the bottom there about the LEP with, particularly with Area Park and that, we're holding up, possible rezoning because of the flood study and other studies and that, and just wonder whether, sorry.
We can edit that out, I think.
So I'm just wondering whether there's any chance of bringing some of those dates forward a bit, that's all. So.
Thank you.
The other one was the report on the page 70, the report on the installation of sewerage service for Area Park. Last month, May, was supposed to be the date we're going to have a public meeting in Area Park. I just wondering whether my suggestion, if we probably last week of August this year, if we could do it before, once you get into September, October, it just gets far too busy, It's, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Judd. Well, we'll just go back, if we may, to page 65, your request about the LEP, which we currently have in there as a due date, the 30th of June 2023. The Director is an apology, so we have to take that on notice, Mr General Manager. But then it's a bit hard, I suppose, when we're looking to adopt the document. But I mean, that's the due date. It's not to say that, yeah, that's right. It's, but to your second point, we happen to have the Engineering Services Manager here who will respond to your question. Thank you, the Manager.
Good to go. Now, to be honest, I've been waiting for an options analysis report to show up from Public Works Advisory, and it came this week. So I think I've got one meeting with them next week to have a look at the financial side of it, and then it should be done.
Thank you. Councillor Judd.
As I suggested, late August, first week of September.
Yeah.
But once you get into show time and things like that, it's
A write-off.
hectic from then on. Yeah, so. And the same thing. Other question was about the flood study. Also, probably it's all tied in with that. So,
Thanks, Councillor Judd. I'll go to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In terms of the area park consultation, Councillor Judd, the meeting is one part of that. There'll also be a survey go out to residents, and there may well be other consultation as well. But the first part can certainly be done early, but we've left ourselves till the end of the year to undertake the rest of the consultation.
Thank you.
my
Councillor
impression,
Judd.
and maybe from the first meeting, we might got indication that there wasn't enough interest to go if we had enough to go to the next stages. I mean, so. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Judd. Councillors, anything else in relation to the draft operational delivery and resourcing strategy plan? If not, there is a recommendation on page 28 that Council adopts, particularly in light of that we received 0 submissions. Councillor Bushell, was that a hand up or a flinch? No. Trying to look at Councillor Bushell as well. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
I'll move the recommendation that Council adopts the draft operational plan and draft resourcing strategy.
Thank you. Mr Deputy Mayor, is there a second for the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, Councillor Bushell, you're happy? I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the thank you. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Now, councillors, let's go over to 6.3, which is over on page 304. The rates and charges for 2022-2023. The Director of Administration and Finance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So following IPART's approval of our application for a special variation, the rates are set out with a 2% increase. Just note that the recommendation should read that Council make the above rates and charges. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So the advice is from the Director that the wording be changed, that Council makes the above rates and charges for the 2022-23. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Director. And yes, certainly IPART did leave it to the last minute, but some could argue that that was perhaps part of the overall plan. But anyway, that's for others to make a judgment on. Councillor Judd.
question, Director. I note in the press release the other day that some councils are going up 2.5 and others are going up 2. Can you just explain that, please?
Thank you, councillor Judd. We go to the Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So when IPART allowed for us to apply for a special variation, we were allowed to apply up to a maximum of 2.5%, or what we had in last year's IPNR documents for the rate increase. And because we had 2% as our forecast rate increase, that was the maximum we were allowed to apply for.
Thanks, councillor Judd. So, councillors, you have the report there and its recommendation for you to consider, or is there an alternate? Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation with the change of that wording.
Thank you. So councillor Oliver has moved that way, that council make the above rates and charges for 2022-2023. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Thank you, councillor Judd. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? I go to councillor Irvine.
I just need some clarification on these sewage charges. There's a statement at the top of page 306 that says for non-residential customers, sewage bills should not be less than the residential sewage bills as per best practice pricing. So a minimum rate of $5.50 applies. And then you refer to the table and commercial 20 mils less than that $5.50. Can you please clarify that for me?
Thank you, councillor Irvine. I go to the Director of Administration and Finance.
So the answer there is that it's with the usage combined with their access charge. Their bill would not be less than the residential charges.
Hang on.
Sorry.
So the Director, you've concluded your response?
Yes. So the total non-residential bill cannot be less than the residential bill. So with usage and access combined, it wouldn't be less than the residential.
Thank you, Madam Director. Just further to that, the Engineering Services Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, so commercials two-part pricing. So basically that 73 cents per kilolitre is based on their water usage. So we receive Goldenfields bills and then they get charged 73 cents a kilolitre of sewerage for each kilolitre of water that they use. So the base rate is cheaper on a 20 mil access, but when you add their water bill in, it's dearer than the $5.50.
Thanks, Mr Manager. Thank you, Councillor Irvine. So, councillors, any further discussion on the motion that's before us in relation to report 6.3 rates and charges for 2022-2023, and the motion that's before council on the motion of Councillor Oliver, Councillor Judd, that council make the above rates and charges for 2022-2023. Councillor Bushell, are you happy? Yep, thumbs up. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, councillors. On behalf of council, I would like to extend a very warm thanks to our Director of Administration and Finance, in particular, for her efforts in relation to the budget process, also to her team, and also all directors and managers for their contributions. But I also want to acknowledge the efforts of the General Manager. Something that I've learned over the years is that most general managers actually contract a lot of this work out of the IPNR, but our general manager has taken a lot of that on himself to take the lead on to save council and our community money. So, Mr General Manager, on behalf of council, we also want to acknowledge your efforts in that space. Councillors, there being no further business for this extraordinary meeting of council, Councillor Judd.
Are we going to go through the delivery plan, or has that been covered already?
No, we've covered the three reports, haven't we? Yep.
Can I ask a few questions on the delivery plan?
Councillor Judd, before I close, I go to Councillor Judd.
Question to the manager of engineering. Say on page 191, footpaths, and that, I presume that projects like Reed Street, Airy Park, or in this year's, they get rolled over into next year, or? Yes.
Thanks, Councillor Judd. We go to the Engineering Services Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Can you just ask that question again? Sorry, Councillor Judd.
Councillor Judd. Councillor Judd. Thank you.
Page 199, where you got, the projected works in the next few years for footpaths and that, and current one.
91, yeah.
I presume projects like Reed Street at Airy Park, which I think was in this year's program, and last year's program, will be just rolled over? Doesn't show up in this, or?
Actually, we'll go to the Director of Administration Finance.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, that's correct. And Reed Street was one particularly that the engineering manager talked to me about last week. So we will roll that forward. I think they've just ran out of time to get it finished this financial year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Second question is to the manager of engineering again. On the colours chart with the ones in orange, and I prefer page 193, Tara Betrick Roads, all those works out there. So that work's not fully covered by grant funds.
Thanks, Councillor Judd. We go to the Manager of Engineering Services.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Orange means partially offset by grants, and so it's a fixing country roads grant, which is 80-20. So council puts in 20%, state government puts in 80%.
Thank you. That's all right. Thank you, Councillor Judd. No, we did go through it. We did say, but there was three plans into the one,
Right,
so that's fine. Very good. Thank you very much, councillors. Again, thank you to all of our staff, general manager, directors, managers, and there being no further business for this extraordinary meeting, I declare it closed. Thank you.